Welcome to another episode of Football Scientific with me, Aaron Sauter. I'm a writer for the UFL News Hub and the CFL News Hub. I cover the San Antonio Brahmas of the UFL. Sad face after today. Sad face. I cover the Hamilton Tiger Cats of the CFL. Sad face every year. I cover the IFL, the Indoor Football League. I cover the NAL, the National Arena League, and I cover the ELF, the European League of Football. This is my co-host, Timmy the Trash Talking Tiger Shark. What up, my peoples? Okay, good job, Timmy. Way to introduce yourself. I am Timmy. What is the show about today? What is going on? Good question, Timmy. What is going on? Well, first, we're going to start looking at some game reviews of this weekend. There's been a ton of football on this weekend, and there's still a ton to go. There's still a lot of football left to be played. The NAL has 2 games tonight. The IFL has a game tonight. They have 2 games tomorrow. They have a game on Monday. The UFL has 2 games tomorrow. But we're going to take a look at the game so far and kind of see how those are working out. And we're going to start off with the UFL. Last night was the first game in the UFL. Remember, there was doubts because of this labor situation that they were even going to play these games. Did they play? They did play. They did play, Timmy. They did play. Okay, so they're playing. That's good. Although the players wrote a strongly worded letter to The Rock. The Rock? Yeah, The Rock and his wife, ex-wife, Danny Garcia, owned the league. And I read the letter. They wrote a strongly worded letter saying, hey, man, help us out. We would like health care. We would like more money. Or just more money. Or just health care. And they won't be perfectly happy, you know. But here's the thing. And here's the thing that you keep remembering. The UFL is not meant to be a career, okay? The UFL is not going to be your career as a quarterback or a receiver or a defensive lineman. It's an opportunity to earn a career, okay? It's an opportunity to earn a career. So I think the UFL, the ownership, you know, Daryl Johnston and The Rock and anyone else involved in this are approaching the league like this is a chance to prove yourself and move on. That's the value of the league, okay? But the players want it to be a full-time job, I think. They only play, 10 games. They want it to be a full-time job. They want more money and health care all year round for that. I think that's not realistic, okay? Once again, if they push the issue, if they make this a big issue, they're just going to kill the league, and then some other spring league will take over. Honestly, these games this week so far, these 2 games they've played so far, yesterday and today, have been really boring. And the IFL has had way better games. The NAL, kind of boring. The UFL, kind of boring. The IFL, 2 shootouts yesterday. Pretty cool. If I was going to spend some money on a league right now, I would spend money in the IFL. I bought the Game Pass for the regular season, and it's been worth it. They play some awesome games. It's high scoring. It's up and down the field. There's intensity. It's everything you want in football. If you're not an indoor football fan, I suggest let's give it a chance. It feels like the old Arena League before AF1 destroyed the Arena League name. Okay, before the Arena League became a joke. Okay, the IFL is significantly better than the NAL, even though they have some similarities. I think the IFL is a much better product than the NAL, and I'm happy paying for it because it's a lot better football. It's way more entertaining, especially in the spring. You know, the NFL is not an option. College football is not an option. The CFL hasn't started playing yet. Those are probably better levels of football, okay? Although the UFL kind of looks like college football sometimes because it's similar athletes, okay, without the NFL guys included. CFL is its own thing. I think the IFL is the best spring football league. That's not the CFL. The best one. It's better than the UFL, I believe, in terms of entertainment and fan value. The NAL has some work to do. I think they are similar to the IFL, but not as good as terms of their product. Okay, so I'm not talking about the players. I'm talking about the product. If you're the fan experience, I think if you're watching these leagues, teams that blowouts are boring. Okay, that's the thing. Blowouts are boring, and you can't have a lot of blowouts if you want a good league. People are not going to keep watching that. Okay, so. Well, that was my quick soapbox moment there. Sorry, that probably went longer than it should have, Timmy. You just got to let it out. You got to let it out. Don't hold it in because then you'll be stressed out. That's right, Timmy. I got to let it out. Okay, so first, last night's game in the UFL, the St. Louis Battlehawks blew up the Houston Roughnecks in an empty stadium. I guess they're saying it is officially Mike Mitchell, the official bootlicker of the UFL. I think I worked with him. At least I have before, and he's just a butt kisser. He's trying to get everyone to. The UFL doesn't pay him any money. SI, Sports Illustrated, paid him money for a minute, but they're done with that. And he's trying to grift some people on this alt football, something or other, trying to get people to pay him behind a paywall for the same articles I write. The same kind of articles I write. I'm not gonna go behind a paywall for that. Okay, I'm not gonna go behind a paywall for the Football Scientific. If you want to pay me, that's cool. If you want to subscribe and like the video, that's cool. But I'm not asking you to pay me. I understand. I'm not providing an ESPN product. I don't want to provide an ESPN product. Okay? So Mike Mitchell said 7,128 tickets paid for by the Houston Roughnecks, or at least given away. That's the ticket distribution. There was less than 1,000 people at that game, okay? The weather was supposed to be bad. The weather was great. The weather ended up being great. It wasn't even a problem. Weather looked great, okay? So the fact you had less than 1,000 fans at the game shows the UFL has a major issue in terms of PR. They should have been working this the whole time. The players should have shut their mouth, boop, and focused on playing football, boop, and doing their job, boop, and then getting a better fan experience, boop. And guess what would happen to your health care and your pay? They would both appear, okay? They're trying to get the money and the health care now without providing a good product. Well, that's the opposite of what you need to do. Now your fans are going to say, this is unpleasant. We're getting all the negative things you get with the NFL, all the drama and all the whining and all the stuff you see with the NFL, and you're not getting any entertainment. At least the NFL is fun to watch. The UFL right now, I don't want to talk bad about it, but the Roughnecks lost last night, 31-6. 31-6, okay? St. Louis Battlehawks, they dominated offensive line, they dominated defensive line, their DBs produced turnovers, their quarterback managed the game. That's what you do. If you want to win in football, any level of football, high school, youth football, Canadian football, and this is how you win. First, you get an offensive line and you dominate the line of scrimmage. You run the ball, you pass protect, you dominate the line of scrimmage, okay? Defensively, you get a defensive line or at least a scheme. Maybe you don't have a dominant defensive line, but you get a scheme together that allows you to dominate the defensive line, okay? And then you get a defensive secondary to protect the ball from flying over your head. There's no value to playing well on the defensive line if the ball's going to fly over your head all night and go for touchdowns. You got to make sure you have defensive backfield players that can keep the game in front of them and knock the ball down and make some plays. Occasionally one will go over their head. But if you have guys who are back there making plays, it's going to be a lot better. I said the NFL's changed right now. The passing game is no longer cool because people are playing too high. They're keeping the game in front of them. Good teams are dominating defensive line. Bad teams are not. Good teams win. Bad teams don't. Okay? Offensively, you need to have a good offense. You need to be able to run the ball. You need to be able to pass protect. Your quarterback needs to not throw the ball to the other team. Manage the game. If you do, it's not like a stylish way to win football games. That's just a consistent way to win football games. That's how you'll be very, very good. And if your fans know anything about football, if my fans know anything about football, which you may or may not, okay, that's how you win the games. If you go to a youth game or middle school game and you see one team dominate the line of scrimmage on offense and defense, they knock the ball down on defense, they keep the game in front of them, and their quarterback doesn't throw the game away or doesn't turn the ball over a bunch, they're going to win the game. Now, with that in mind, predicting outcomes becomes much more easy. I have a bad habit of letting myself become attached to teams. Okay, I would be a lot better at predicting if I did not become attached to teams. I just looked at that. I will say in the IFL, UFL, NAL, ELF, it's hard to predict in the first couple of weeks who's going to have the best offensive line, defensive line, secondary, and quarterback. On paper, it's hard to tell that stuff. So it is hard to predict early in the season. But as we get more data points, I will see, okay, O-line, D-line, quarterback, secondary, I know who's going to win the game. Okay, so right now it starts up a little rough. This is probably the most exciting time of year for me because I get surprised. Okay, that's why I don't gamble. I don't gamble because I enjoy the fun of the game. I would hate to have money on a game and then, I see a great game and and I'm mad because I lost my money. That's how it would be in that Green Bay game last night. We'll talk about it in a second. The Indoor Football League game, great game. If you're a bettor, you might have been unhappy. Okay? All right, so here's what I saw really in the St. Louis Battlehawks Houston Roughnecks game. I saw the Battlehawks play great. Offensive line played well. Running backs ran well behind them. Good job. Defensive line played extremely well. Pita Talbot had 2 sacks that were critical in the game. Good job. Their defensive secondary played smart football, and their quarterback, Manny Wilkins, controlled the game on offense. Okay? All right. Houston Roughnecks got obliterated under offensive line. Boop. We were told that's a strength. That's a lie. Defensive line got obliterated. Boop. We were told that's a strength. That's a lie. Defensive secondary got torched downfield. Boop. C.J. Johnson said that was a pretty good area of the team. That's a lie. And their quarterback was a joke. Anthony Brown threw the ball so late. He just waited and waited and waited and waited. He was so late. He made it so easy for the defensive secondary and the Battlehawks to pick the ball up. Okay, painful to watch in that kind of game. Here's the real problem, I think, with Houston Roughnecks. I've been critical of C.J. Johnson really consistently this whole preseason, okay? He's coached NFL, he's coached college football, and he's done this, and he's never been good at any of those. I think he knows somebody. He's one of his coaches that knows somebody, and he gets the job because people like him. He talks good on a mic. He's like a professional wrestler. He can talk a good game on the mic, but then he can't produce anything on the field. His teams stink all the time. They stink all the time, okay? They've never been good. I've never seen C.J. Johnson coach a team that's been good. Okay, I would say if I'm they had less than 1,000 fans at their stadium yesterday. I don't know what the ratings are of the game, but I'm just going to tell you it looked bad. No one cared about the Houston Roughnecks game. Those 500 fans probably were the St. Louis Battlehawks fans. Okay, they came from St. Louis. How would you fix this problem? I would get rid of C.J. Johnson, and I would get someone to coach this team. It might be too late for this year. It's a 10-game season. If you start off bad, you're out. You're out. You have to wait for other teams to go give it away. I don't think the Birmingham Stallions are going to give it away. The Michigan Panthers might, so that might give you a Houston Roughnecks chance to make the playoffs. Is that the Michigan Panthers can't handle business, which they lack some of the major pieces you need to win games. They have a good offensive line, good defensive line. They don't have a good quarterback or a good secondary. That might be the door open. If you cut ties with C.J. Johnson right now, boop, and you bring in to have Tom Cable, who used to be the head coach of the Raiders, that's not a bragging point, but he knows how to coach football, and the Raiders were pretty good under Tom Cable. I think you could be serviceable and have a chance to win games. But right now, they have no chance. The only teams they're going to beat are the other teams that are not very good. So they're going to be waiting for a chance. At best, they'll be a 3-win team. At worst, they'll be a 0-win team. Probably a 1-win team like last year. Okay? So I would get rid of C.J. Johnson. Now, why would I do that? Why would I call for someone's job? First of all, he has no situational awareness as a head coach. When to take timeouts, when to go fast in offense, when to go slow, when do we need to have 4-minute drill, special teams drill. This has no situational awareness. Never has had situational awareness, okay? Tom Cable had to explain to them why to do certain things during the game. You saw it on the sideline. Tom Cable was explaining to C.J. Johnson, this is what we need to do. And C.J. Johnson's disagreeing. Just fire him. Losing. He's not going to win any games. Not in a good league. And the UFL has some good teams. Has some great teams. Houston Roughnecks are going to be an embarrassment to the city of Houston and to the league as long as C.J. Johnson's the head coach there. Just cut it. Cut it and bring someone in. Make Tom Cable the head coach. Don't need to bring anyone in. Just make Tom Cable the head coach. Let him manage the game. They'll go 500, maybe 4-6 if they can just manage their pieces. That's what you see. Okay, that's what I see in the UFL. That's why it's boring right now. Because people are always calling for expansion of the UFL. Expansion. But the talent's already so thin. Expansion would just make this league more boring. Okay, so that's why you can't expand the league. That's why the UFL and XFL were unpleasantly bad. That's why they had to combine. Because the XFL had 4 teams that were good, 4 teams that were horrible. USFL had 4 teams that are good, 4 teams that are horrible. There's no intrigue in that league. It's just boring to watch. the leagues are hoping to get fans like me that are hardcore fans, but you get no casual fans with boring games. Okay, watching the Houston Roughnecks miss tackles, drop passes, get tackles for loss, get quarterback sacks, don't throw in, don't move the ball. Battlehawks dominate in every way. That's not going to give you casual fans. Casual fans don't want to watch a blowout. Okay, I was critical of quarterback Manny Wilkins, but he had a pretty good night. He managed the game, 17 for 22 passing, 189 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. It's good enough to give him a QBR of 102.3, which is the best of the weekend so far by far. But he didn't throw any touchdowns. He's not a playmaker. He's just smart. And he ran the ball, 8 times for 43 yards. He ran for 2 of their touchdowns. He's not a great football player, but he's smart. He's not going to destroy your team. He's a role player. He knows what to do. He'll just do it, okay? Their running game was dominant for the Battlehawks. Running back Jarvion Howard was the backup running back. In the second half, he got chance carries. He led the team in rushing, 13 carries, 115 yards, and a touchdown. Jacob Sailors was the starting run back. He had the first half, 16 runs, 98 yards, 1 touchdown. 6 catches, 83 yards. So that's an impressive night, okay? Why did Jarvion Howard outrush him? Because Jacob Sailors also was a receiving threat, okay? He made some yards on the ground. He made some yards in the air. Jarvion Howard's a good backup, a good pounder. Boom. Wide receiver Ja'Cory Pearson. That's a receiver that this Battlehawks got from the Seattle Sea Dragons. He was the top receiver for them in their run and shoot offense. This is not the run and shoot offense. That's way too much fun for this league right now. I really enjoyed the Seattle Sea Dragons offense. I wish they would have kept that team. Or at least Jim Jones. He got a drunk driving charge. That's why he's not in the league. But Ja'Cory Pearson had 6 catches, 83 yards. It's pretty good. And like I mentioned, Pita Tomopua, defensive end, had 2 sacks that were pretty good. And they produced turnovers. That's how they won the game. Houston Roughnecks, now in comparison, Houston Roughnecks, starting quarterback, Anthony Brown, 5 for 11, 21 passing yards, no TDs, 2 interceptions, a 12.9 QBR. Is that professional football? No, that is not. That is not. Anthony Brown should not have started the game. Backup quarterback Nolan Henderson was 7 for 18, 68 yards, 1 touchdown, QBR 68.8. At this point, Anthony Brown's no longer the starting quarterback if I'm the head coach of the Houston Roughnecks. After the first series, I would have said, hey, Anthony, go find the bench. Hey, Nolan, come and do your thing. You have the ability to run. He ran for 4 carries for 54 yards. Okay. He has the ability to move the ball down the field. He can go on scampers. He can move the ball. He can get out of bounds. He plays football at a pretty good level. He's not the best quarterback in the league, but he is serviceable. Anthony Brown's not serviceable. Whoever thought he was going to be a starting quarterback was C.J. Johnson, and he should be fired. Okay, running back. They had a running back, Kirk Merritt. They thought it was going to be pretty good. Yeah, he averaged 2 yards per carry. He mostly has on 1 run. 8 runs, 16 yards. Most of it, I think the 16 came on 1 run. Very bad. Wide receiver Justin Hall, probably the only standout player for the Houston Roughnecks. Only athlete that's really a professional athlete. Really, in my mind, 5 catches, 40 yards, 1 touchdown from Nolan Henderson. Nolan Henderson's a pro. Justin Hall's a pro. The rest of these guys, they're just dudes, man. They're just dudes. They're asking for more money. How about you start playing football? How about you get some fans to the game? You're going to get more money in healthcare playing this trash? No. Okay, Damon Arnett got 1 quarterback sack. That's from Friday. That's angry. We're doing all this trash talk about how we deserve more money, and then you produce that garbage of a game? You don't deserve more money. We deserve our time back from having to watch that. That's gross. Good job, Battlehawks. Looks like you're a good team. You're not the best team in the league, though, bro. You played a horrible team. Okay. Today's game, Saturday, I had high hopes. San Antonio Brahmas, whoop, whoop, orange forward, bringing it. Supposed to have a great defense, supposed to have a great offense. The fact I'm saying supposed to means it didn't go well. Arlington Renegades last year struggled to get anything going. They threw the ball a bunch. They tried to move to the... That's not Bob Stoops, their head coach. That's not his game. He's a old school Big 12 guy. Big 8 guy, run the ball, play defense, dominate offensive line, defensive line, good secondary. Quarterback's got to manage the game. That's how he's won national championships at the college football level at Oklahoma. Okay, and that's how he coaches football. Now, he did not do that last year, and it looked like he was unhappy with the product they had. That's why they went 3-7. He did not look like he was coaching football last year. I think he was told he needed to have the OC and DC and do all the stuff. He looked really bored, and it showed because they were a horrible team. Today, no, they showed up and kicked the Brahmas' butt. I hate to say that. It was hard for me to say that. They showed up and kicked the Brahmas' butt all day. It was not good. Okay, Luis Perez, similar to Manny Wilkins, managed the game. 20 for 25, 20 completions, 25 attempts, 164 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Didn't kill the team. Had a QBR of 77.3. He's not a world beater. He's never been a world beater. In his book, The Spring King, he's never going to be a world beater. He's not an NFL quarterback. But he doesn't beat you. He doesn't set you up for defeat. Okay? So that's why he's good. That's why he keeps getting picked up and playing. Because he's not going to beat you. He's just going to manage the game. Okay? Here's a real moneymaker for the Arlington Renegades. Remember, they won 33-9. I don't know if I said that. They won 33-9. They kicked the Brahmas' butt all over the field. Okay? Here's what happened. Running back, Caleb Ballage, 9 carries, 110 yards, 1 touchdown. Running back, Davion Hunter, 16 carries, 40 yards. Running back, Davion Smith, 3 carries, 3 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's a short yardage guy. That's what he ended up being, okay? What's that all translate to? Offensive line dominated. Quarterback didn't beat you. He made sure we didn't lose the game. If you're Arlington Renegades, okay? Defensive line played out of their mind. Destroyed. Is that defensive line really good? Or the Brahmas' offensive line really bad? If you look at my game preview from yesterday about this game, I mentioned the Brahmas' offensive line is their weakness. It was their weakness last year. How'd they win games last year, though? They showed creativity. Their quarterback was trash last year. All of them were. Their defense was really good, and their offense showed creativity. A.J. Smith found ways to get balls to the playmaker in non-traditional ways, and that allowed them to win games and win the XFL conference. They must have forgot that, because today on offense, the Brahmas got destroyed, and their kickers destroyed, but they got destroyed on their offensive line. Could not establish a running game. Okay, could not protect Kellerman. Kellerman looks hesitant. He does not look ready for this situation. Okay, used to be good. He used to be a backup. Now he played like a backup. Okay, he had a QBR of 69.2. I don't want to talk about the stats of Kellerman. That's embarrassing for an NFL quarter or a guy who played in the NFL to carry a name. Cleveland Browns, New Orleans Saints. Embarrassing. Okay. John Lovett did score 1 touchdown on the ground. I didn't see that. They cut it off to baseball because it was so boring. They were like, let's play baseball, which is bad. Fox cut it off, okay? All right. Defensive line, more of the same. The defensive front of the Brahmas is supposed to be the best in the UFL, okay? The linebacker core is supposed to be awesome. But here's what happens. You can't have great linebackers if your defensive line is getting driven back into your linebackers all game. You can't have a good linebacking crew if your edge rushers are giving up contained the entire game, and that's what happened. Defensive line, horrible. Edge rushers, trash. Why do you keep letting them outside of you? Luis Perez is not a runner. How does he keep getting outside of the edge rushers? There's no contain. Boo. Defensive backs look bored. They got all these dudes that play for the Cleveland Browns, and they look like the Cleveland Browns. They look bored and trashy. The Brahmas got a week to figure this out. They're 0-1. Okay, 10-game season. They play the Battlehawks next week. They'll probably, if they play like today, they'll lose. Sad face for me. I was hoping they were going to come out and really look good. Nope. They come out and they look like trash. They got a week to figure it out. And they need to take, I hope they hear this. They probably won't. No one's going to share it with them. They need to hear it. That's embarrassing to be a Brahmas fan when you come out and get destroyed at every point in the game. That wasn't fun to watch. Offensive coordinator A.J. Smith didn't try anything cool or creative. That's what they were known for last year. That's why they were fun to watch. Didn't do anything. You're getting blown out. Might as well do some fun stuff. Run some reverses, Try something. Nope, it's boring football. Boring football. Boring football. Dropped a ton of passes. Kellen Mond, his quarterback rating probably would have been around 100. He played pretty well. I like Kellen Mond, but I'm not a huge believer in him as being a great quarterback, but he played pretty well. Receivers dropped a ton of passes. John Trey Kirkland, nowhere to be found in this game. Supposed to be the best receiver in the league. No, crickets. Justin Hall was your best receiver. And that dude's a possession receiver at best. No speed. Embarrassing. Got to figure it out. Here's the story of the game. Arlington Renegades run the ball for 183 yards. San Antonio Browns run the ball for 105 yards. We're not supposed to be a power football team, but you can't be a passing team if you drop all your passes. Enough of that. Birmingham still has a win tomorrow. Memphis Showboats will be destroyed by the Michigan Panthers tomorrow. Both teams can control line of scrimmage. Remember that. If you want to win games, win on the offensive line, win on the defensive line, have good defensive backs, have a quarterback who can manage the game, you win every game. That's all you got to do. And you would think that would be easy. You think every team would do that. And all these games would be close, like in the NFL. All the teams in the NFL know how you're supposed to win, how you win football games. Most of the college football teams, at least the Power 4 schools, know how to win football games. Now, can they get the players to do it? No. There's limitations. Some people are bad recruiters. Some people are bad at personnel. Okay? So that's why you have so much mediocrity in NFL and college football. Everyone knows how to win the game. Good O-line, good D-line, good secondary, great quarterback. Doesn't have to be great. Just don't be great at not being bad. Tom Brady was never great. He was great at not being bad. He was very consistent. Won 7 Super Bowls being consistent. Why? Because he just didn't beat the team. Okay? That's why he was good. Okay. That went way longer than I was hoping it to. I hope you're still with me. NAL. Okay, we learned a lot about the Columbus Lions. Last week, I felt like the Columbus Lions were going to struggle in the NAL. They had been in the NAL previously. They were in it. They were competitive, but they didn't really become a championship team. They dropped down a level. They blew out teams nonstop, like the Peach State Cats. They come back to the NAL being an improved team. Last week, they played the Carolina Cobras. I thought that'd be a competitive, fun game. Nope, Columbus Lions beat them 25-0. Why? Because the Carolina Cobras turned the ball over constantly. And the defense shut them down, and then they couldn't just stop crossing routes. That's all it was. Figure it out. Well, this week, Carolina Cobras figured it out. Okay? They won 40-20 over the Columbus Lions in Carolina. So that tells me a few things. First, traveling in the NAL is tough. Being a road team in the NAL is rough. You probably got to, ride a bus at best if you're not driving yourself. Okay? Not talking about anyone, but that's the reality of the situation. You're probably not staying in the best hotel. You're not getting the best food. I bet you probably, on Carolina and Columbus, are so close, you drive the same day as the game. Very similar to semi-pro football. The difference is you're getting paid. Okay? Not very much, $300 per game probably. So Carolina Cobras, though, they get a new quarterback. James Summers played at ECU. They dumped last week's quarterback. I mentioned last night, revolving door of personnel. If you play bad, you don't develop, and you ain't got time to develop people in indoor football. You just dump them and you pick up someone new. UFL needs to think about that. You ain't got time to develop people in spring football. Dump them and pick up someone new. Find a playmaker. If he's not on your team right now, find one somewhere. Okay? Carolina Cobras did that. James Summers came out, threw the ball 18 times, 13 for 18 for 90 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interceptions, didn't make any critical errors. Last week, the guy that ran the offense was horrible, made all kinds of errors. He also ran the ball 14 times for 92 yards and a touchdown. Dual threat quarterbacks are money in the indoor football leagues. Okay? Wide receiver Cam Taylor had 4 catches. Cam Taylor had 2 catches for 41 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he had 9 runs for 35 yards and 1 touchdown. That's a good time there. They had a defensive back who intercepted the pass for a touchdown. Here's what they knew. Okay, Zaya Gibson forced fumbles. They recovered 5 fumbles and 3 interceptions. Here's what they did. They watched film. The Columbus Lions last week were so predictable. Crossing route, run the ball, crossing route, run the ball, crossing route. They just sat in the middle of the field and picked up all the crossing routes. They forced 5 fumbles and recovered them, and 3 interceptions. 8 turnovers in a game is not going to win an indoor football, and that is bad. The fact that it's 40-20 and not 7-0, that tells you a lot. Columbus Lions don't travel well. Columbus Lions are predictable. Okay? I think they got Carolina because it was the first game. Carolina didn't know what they were going to do. They came back, they game planned for it, they jumped all over it. If Columbus would have switched it up, if their coach has, some intellect, he's going to switch it up, make it a little bit different. But nope, they just stopped it. They just said, we're going to pick all his passes off. And they did. Marcus Brooks, who was the player of the week last week, was 6 for 12, 3 interceptions, 1 rushing touchdown, 1 passing touchdown. Trash. Okay, running back Marco Lee ran the ball 8 times, 33 yards, 1 touchdown. That's about what he did last week. The difference was Marcus Brooks kept throwing interceptions because they knew where the ball was going to go. Linebacker Zach Brown recovered a fumble. That's what kept him in the game, 40-20. Good job, Carolina Cobras, but bad job, Columbus Lions. I say Columbus Lions showed road game. They're going to dip hard. They're going to probably be a 500 team. Will they make the playoffs? Yeah, maybe. Beaumont Renegades, I've only seen 1 game from them. If they're legit, they'll be the second best team in that conference. Okay, Carolina Cobras, I don't know. The top teams between Carolina and Columbus, and I think when they're at home, they're very good. When they're on the road, they're very bad. So I don't know what that's going to mean. It should be wide open. It should be fun to watch. Okay, all right, IFL. I predicted the Causee Steelers would go into Massachusetts and beat the Pirates and upset them, and they did. Here's why. Quarterback for Massachusetts Pirates, he keeps throwing interceptions. He's not a dual threat guy, not really, although he tried to be last night, which is good. He went 13 for 25, which is a horrible completion rate in the IFL. He's threw 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Can't have an interception, especially against a good team. Okay, remember they lost 39 to 33. I said it was going to be 37 to 33. Okay, 39 to 33, I believe, or 39 to 37 or something. It was like a 2-point game, okay? And it's because Kenji Bahar threw the interception. He did run the ball 13 times for 69 yards and 3 touchdowns. He kept them in the game. Otherwise, they would have been blown out by the Causee Steamwheelers. Had Kenji Bahar not found his legs and ran the ball, they would have been blown out once again. This time by the Causee Steamwheelers, okay? Running back, Dominic Roberto, ran the ball 12 times, 67 yards, 1 touchdown. That's solid. Solid for a running back in the IFL, not Jimmy Robinson. But solid. You can work around that if your quarterback isn't completely incompetent, which Kenji Bahar wasn't incompetent. Wide receiver Teo Redding, 4 catches, 27 yards, 1 touchdown. He did his part. Okay, they had 2 sacks. They had 2 fumble recovers. They were competitive because Kenji Bahar started running the ball. His passing skills are not where it's at, though. He just had too slow of a release. Okay? It's going to be hard to get good. Quad City Steamwheelers, Daquan Neal. So he went 8 for 11, 2 touchdowns, 130. He knows his game. He knows he's not going to go out there and be an air raid quarterback and throw a ball a bunch of times. He's going to complete the passes he gets a chance to do. He's going to run the ball. He had 8 runs for 21 yards for a touchdown. Last week he had 3 touchdowns. Running back Davion Johnson carried the weight of the team. Were two I say that, but he had 2 runs for 16 yards. That's 2 8-yard runs. Kevon Rudd, 3 catches, 61 yards. Jordan Vesui, 2 catches, 34 yards, 2 touchdowns. You know what happened? Daquan Neal, Causee Steamers just didn't beat themselves. And the Massachusetts Pirates couldn't stop them. They couldn't stop what seems to be a not amazing offense from Quad City. Massachusetts, Causee really didn't stop Massachusetts. It came down to an interception. And Causee didn't throw the interception, so they won the game by a small amount. There, I did see a good play by their linebacker, Bubba Arslanian. He had an interception, which is where the interception came from, and that was in the scoring zone. So that's a 14-point play. Causee goes, scores, Mass comes down, they throw an interception in the red zone, Quad City scores, 14 points, that's your game. That's your game. Good job, Quad City. 1-0 with that. 1-1 in the UFL. 1-1. Columbus Lions, IFL second game, another really cool game. I would call it a barn burner, boom, but that would be a Barnstormers, pun, and I don't know if anyone's into that. So I know people don't like dad jokes, but it was a barn burner with the Iowa Barnstormers. I expect the Iowa Barnstormers to come out, they've done the last couple of years, and look trash on offense and trash on defense. The reason they look trash, though, is because they had a bunch of injuries, okay? So the first game, they don't have a lot of injuries. So they might look pretty good. I didn't expect, they have a bunch of rookies. So I figured it'd take them a while to adapt to the game. But it didn't work out that way. They came out and played some exciting football. It ended up being Green Bay Blizzard 52, Iowa Barnstormers 47. Okay, I'm going to let you know that game was not that close. It wasn't the first half, but in the second half, Green Bay started running away with it. It got to be 52-33. That game's over, and Green Bay started playing like it's over. Iowa kept trying to make plays, and they got it down to a small window at the very end. They could have had a chance to win the game, only because Green Bay got complacent. That's not the eye of the tiger. That's not a championship mindset. We got a big lead, now we're just going to coast. And Iowa came back and made it a 5-point game. They didn't cover the spread because of that. So if you bet on, I told you to bet on the Green Bay Blizzard. If I'm betting 5.5, okay, under, nope, you lost because the Green Bay Blizzard took the foot off the gas. Iowa Barnes almost got them. Okay, here's what I saw overall. The stats were not available. The reason some AI system for stats in IFL, they were available for the other IFL game, but not this one. I don't know what the difference is. But offensively, Green Bay came out and looked unstoppable against a non-existent Iowa Barnstormers defense. Expected that. But I expected Green Bay to get in their head early and then just coast the game. I did expect that. They did in the second half. Difference is their defense, who's been really good, especially in the red zone, keeping people out, good at knocking down deep balls and jumping crossing routes and doing all that good stuff. Horrible. Gave up so many yards. So many plays. Could not stop Iowa Barn. And those receivers for Iowa are not world beaters. They just couldn't stop them. That's why they lost to Quad City last week. They couldn't stop Quad City. You got to play perfect on offense, and they're not going to play perfect on offense. Max Mailer's good, but he's not perfect, okay? This week, they were good enough to win the game. Okay, Iowa, they attacked, they made errors, but the Green Bay defense gave it back to them. They threw one ball, that was an interception. Green Bay celebrated on the 1 yard line, and they're on, by their own end zone. They fumbled the ball. Iowa recovered it, touchdown. That's just dumb football. That's just dumb. They weren't doing that stuff last year. They were not. They looked like they thought they were still a good team, but you're not a good team until you start being good. That's what the Brahmas did. They mailed it in. They thought they were a good team. You were a good team last year. Doesn't mean anything about now. You didn't play well this time. Okay? Defense looked lazy, just like the Brahmas defense looked lazy. Could be a much better team. Iowa could be if they stay healthy. Will they stay healthy? I don't know. They're really young. You would think that equal to healthy. Do those guys work out and take care of themselves? That's probably the real question. That's probably the biggest difference maker in these leagues. That you don't get good health care. You don't get the training staff you get at the NFL, college level. Okay? You have to take care of yourself. You have to be a professional, even though you're not living. This isn't your living. You have to be a professional, though. Played football, semi-pro football for 8 years. I had to be a professional. I had to work hard. I had to take care of myself, so I did not dip all the time and then have bad seasons, get hurt all the time. These guys don't take it as seriously. They have some talent, but they're not good enough to just coast. Okay, NFL news. We're not much in the NFL today. Quiet Saturday. Getting ready for the draft. I started doing some mock drafts. I may share some of those, okay? Found a fun website for that. PFF is charging you a subscription fee, $29.99 a month to make mock drafts. That's garbage. Okay, I found a different website. Let me make a mock draft for free. I like that a lot better. I'll have to look into the website. I'll share it if you're interested. If you're interested in making some free NFL mock drafts, let me know, and I'll put the website on the next video. Okay, I'm gonna make some mock drafts this week probably. Okay, my free time. What little I don't have a lot of free time right now, but what little free time I have, I'm gonna make some mock drafts. Okay, the best one I get, I will put out there. San Francisco 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy. He made probably the dumbest comment I ever heard a quarterback say. He's from Iowa, though. No offense, but Iowa State. I just don't think he's a smart guy. Okay? But if you don't know, he's currently negotiating with the 49ers to make him the highest paid quarterback in the league. $55 million, $60 million. He's only been good because he had loaded weapons and Kyle Shanahan's quarterback-friendly offense. Most of those weapons are gone. They're leaving. They're being traded off. 49ers are rebuilding. Okay, you missed your shots. Now you're rebuilding. They didn't win a Super Bowl. They went to overtime and forgot the rules. Okay, Brock Purdy didn't know the rules of overtime. Neither did the head coach. Kyle Shanahan's really good at blowing Super Bowls. 28-3 for the Falcons against Patriots. But here's the dumbest comment I ever heard. Brock Purdy, and that says a lot. I hear a lot of dumb things. That's the dumbest comment I ever heard from a soon-to-be highest paid quarterback in the league. He says the 49ers' downturn in 2024 wasn't because they weren't playing well. It's because they were tired from making multiple deep playoff runs the last several years. They were so successful the last several years. They were tired. That's why they didn't make the playoffs. It wasn't because they were banged up and bad. It wasn't because they had no chemistry and the coaching staff didn't know how to use their players properly. It's because they were tired. They're tired of winning. Well, you're about to be real tired of winning, Brock Purdy. If they re-sign you for anywhere from 55 to 70 million per year, you're about to be on the worst team in the league for 3 years, then you'll be out of the league. I'll be happy to see that. Goodbye. Bye-bye. You'll be Daniel Jones. Goodbye. Go to the Colts. Have your career ended by the Colts offensive line. That's how it's going to be, okay, Brock Purdy? That's your next step. 3 years, get destroyed, go to the Colts, end of career. You're going to be Tony Romo. That's CBS. Okay? But you'll probably be on NBC or something. I don't know. Buffalo Bills. They re-signed cornerback Christian Benford. Okay? They agreed to a contract extension with him. 4 years, $76 million is a good defensive back for them. They made some good moves this year. I did a mock draft with them, and I traded back. I got like 27 picks, and he got an A grade. We didn't make any picks in the first 2 rounds. Why? Because they have a lot of what you need to win. They need an all-star receiver. They put a bunch of money into their team already. Then, from the Buffalo Bills, I've been tracking the Buffalo Bills since the late 80s. When they overpay people, they go into a dip and they are horrible. When they keep people where they should be money-wise, they play really good football, make the playoffs, and have a chance to win a Super Bowl. They will not ever win a Super Bowl, I don't think. Ever. But they have a chance because they manage their personnel well. Josh Allen's got paid a lot of money. That's probably the kiss of death of Josh Allen. Okay, he's going to get hurt this year. I guarantee you. That's how it goes in Buffalo. But they're doing a good job of bringing back the people that made them good the last 2 years. Not great. They couldn't do it when they needed to, but they're good. Okay, part of it's their coaching. No offense. That guy, in pressure situations, they pee down their leg. Kansas City Chiefs game. Baltimore Ravens game. And Kansas City Chiefs games back-to-back years. Playoff game, pee down their leg. Did not even run their offense properly. Baltimore Ravens did the same thing. John Harbaugh got through extension. They do the same thing. In big games, they pee down their leg. They can't hold it together. I don't know why. Houston Texans. Former Indianapolis Colts linebacker E.J. Speed. Cool name. Personally, never heard of him. Plays for the Colts. I don't like, even though I've lived in Indianapolis, I don't track the Colts. I like the Bengals better. More fun. Colts are boring. And bad. And just not good planners. He got lucky with Peyton Manning. He signed with the Texans. So goodbye, E.J. Speed. The coolest name on the Indianapolis Colts is now for the Houston Texans in the same division. Miscalculation by the Colts, yes, but they always do that. It's probably on purpose. They want to be bad on purpose so they can. I once heard that. I once had an advanced PE teacher that told me the Indiana Pacers are bad because the ownership wants them as a tax write-off. So if they won, and they were successful, they would not be as big of a tax write-off. And because they were billionaires, they just want a bigger tax write-off. So you need to take a loss. So you need a bad team. I felt like the Detroit Lions with the Ford family were like that for a long time. They're bad on purpose, so that way they don't have to pay any extra taxes. Indianapolis Colts, their ownership's like that. That guy's on drugs, literally, and drunk. I think he's saying, we just don't want to pay these taxes, y'all. We want to keep these fans strung along. They'll keep coming to games because we have a cool stadium. Thanks, Indianapolis, for buying us a cool stadium. Sorry we can't give you a cool team, but we can only do that every 20 years or so because then you will stop coming to the games. Okay. Not a conspiracy theory, just the way life works. CFL, Friday, I missed some signings. Montreal US released, well, I guess this isn't a signing. Montreal US released American defensive back Cravon LeBlanc. He played at Florida, something or other. Blah, 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 blah. BC, he's released by Cravon LeBlanc. Sounds French, but he's American. Okay? Probably from, you thought for he's from Quebec. He doesn't play for the Alouettes, and they want to build a wall. Well, he did play for the Alouettes, though. Maybe they thought he was from Quebec. Yeah, maybe Danny Machocha was like, Cravon LeBlanc. He's from Quebec. Let's sign him. Then they met him, and they're like, wait, are you from Quebec City? And he's like, no, I'm from Florida. And they're like, oh, our bad. Sorry. That's what they did. They said, sorry, we thought you were from Quebec. LeBlanc. You sound French. BC Lions, they signed American offensive lineman Tyran Waller-Hunt. He played at ODU, Old Dominion. And then we've been talking about the CFL salary cap for the last couple days this week. Here's the fallout of last year's salary cap. Last year's salary cap in the CFL was $5.55 million, okay? And here's the rule. It's a soft salary cap. So if you stick to the salary cap, you play your season, you don't get penalized. Okay? It's like an honor system, okay? But if you go over your salary cap, you don't lose games. You probably win more games. 4 teams went over salary cap last year. All 4 went to the playoffs. What's your incentive to not cheat and not go over the salary cap? I don't know. I hope the Hamilton Tigers go over the salary cap. Cheat. Let's go. Last time they made the Grey Cup, they cheated. Let's do it. If everyone's doing it, let's do it, okay? BC Lions cheated the most. They went $347,889 over the salary cap. So that's bad because there's a penalty system. And if you go over $300,000 over the salary cap, which Toronto did the first year they won the Grey Cup 2 years ago, and they won again this year going over the cap. They went way over, and they had to pay 3 times that amount. The amount you go over, you had to pay 3 times that as a fine, and then you lose your first-round pick in the CFL draft this year and the second-round pick. So BC Lions, they went over. They did not win a Grey Cup, so I guess you missed. You went for it, and you missed. Okay, they're going to have to pay $643,667. That's a lot of money, but their ownership is good. He probably has the money. Okay, and they lose a first-round and second-round pick. Usually those are usually take-a-shot picks. Calgary says they're not going to do it. Take a shot and get a futures pick. Even in the first 2 rounds, they take a shot with a guy who's probably going to go to the NFL for a minute, then come back. He won't be around for 4 or 5 years. He's a futures pick. So I bet BC doesn't really lose a lot from that, other than the money. The money probably hurts because that's more than what their quarterback, Nathan Rourke's, going to get paid. So that's the salary of your best player ever in BC. You got to pay it out to the league. Okay, Toronto Argonauts went over again. They won another Grey Cup, and they went over again. Second time they've done that, $87,102. But if you don't go over $100,000 over the salary cap, you only have to pay that money back as a fine. So MLSE, they make their money off the MLS games. They say, oh yeah, we got $87,000. We wanted to win the Grey Cup, and we did. Saskatchewan Roughriders, they wanted to win the Grey Cup. They went over $40,121, so they got to pay that fine. They did not advance in the playoffs, so they missed. Okay, so they had to pay $40,121 as a fine. Ottawa Red Blacks knocked the Tiger Cats out of the playoffs, only going over the cap $22,914. That's a good value. You make the playoffs, only going over $22,914. That's less than a player. That's less than the league minimum for a single player. It's a third of a player, and you made the playoffs. It's good for those fans. At this point, with Hamilton, you go $50,000 over. You don't have to pay that much money back, and you get to the playoffs. Boop. I love it. All right. There's some elf news, which is fun. Okay. First, some signings, some important signings this week in the elf, the European League of Football. I'm starting to talk about them more. It's getting closer to the season. Frankfurt Galaxy, they have decided to add a defensive back, Tom Mann. Okay, he's an import. He previously played in the. Nope, he's a defensive back coach. My bad. Okay, so Tom Mann, Frankfurt Galaxy, defensive back coach. He coached in the CFL, the AAF, the Alliance of American Football in 2019, and most recently at Central Michigan Chippewas in the MAC. He's a defensive back coach. They bring him in, hoping to fix their defense. They did not stop him last year. Defensive back's an important position. That's one of the four that you need to win games. So maybe they bring in a guy who's going to help them win games and go back to the playoffs. It's been a while for Frankfurt to go to the playoffs. They won the first ELF championship. Boom. That's cool. All right. Raiders, Tyrol Raiders, T-Roll Raiders, whatever it happens to be. They re-signed running back Tobias Bonatti. Okay, second all-time touchdown guy in the ELF. Touchdown leader, rushing touchdowns in the ELF. Only behind Glenn Tunga. I'm going to tell you what. If you have a great running back in the ELF, that makes things so much easier for your quarterback, which allows him to be a good game manager. That's why running backs are important in the ELF. If you have a great rusher like Glenn Tunga or like Tobias Bonatti, you're always going to have a chance to make the playoffs. Now, the problem with the Raiders, the Tyrol Raiders this year, was their quarterback position was a mess. They kept releasing quarterbacks, signing a new one, releasing them. And the first time you come from the United States to ELF, that's the hardest transition ever. Culturally, football-wise, it's a hard transition. You can't keep recycling quarterbacks and be good. Okay? Hopefully they got one they're going to stick with. But they had the running back, Tobias Bonatti, second most rushing touchdowns in the ELF history, other than Glenn Tunga, who has the most, who's also won back-to-back ELF championships. Okay, Madrid Rob with the Rhine Fire. Now he's with the Nordic Storm. I think he wins one this year. I predict they're going to win the league championship. First year. They're not really an expansion team. They picked a bunch of players off the Rhine Fire. Madrid Bravos, they were a big team. First year team last year. They came in and made the Barcelona Dragons no longer exist. They beat their rival so badly, they destroyed their rival. The rival's gone and became the Nordic Storm. On paper. Not really. The ownership's gone. Madrid Bravos, they signed a Spaniard linebacker, outside linebacker, Cesar Brimani. Okay, outside linebacker. He's good. They're good. They're a good team. I think they'll win the division again. Paris Musketeers, they're a good team. They've become a good team over the last 2 years. They had a lot of people from Barcelona that were good. That's why Barcelona's so bad. That's why Barcelona's gone. Bye. Okay, they added Hugo Tekaham. Okay, so that's good for them. He has a pretty good career. 48 catches. He's a wide receiver. He also plays some quarterback. They have quarterback Zach Edwards, who's known to be the best quarterback in the regular season at ELF, but he can never win the playoffs. Hugo Tekaham can play quarterback and wide receiver, so he probably understands the game really well. Okay, he's returning to the lineup. He was a weapon last year. He had 48 catches, 161 yards, 4 touchdowns. That's a good season in the ELF. He has some chemistry with Zach Edwards and can be a backup quarterback. That's pretty cool. Stuttgart Surge. They have re-signed defensive back Nick Wenzelbaum and Saro Dromic. Okay, and they also have brought on tight end Albert Weistert. It's hard to say it with he played for Berlindo. He had 11 as a tight end. He had 881 receiving yards and 11 touchdowns. That's a really good tight end. I should learn his name. Albert Weigenstadt or something. He's probably German. And he's a really good tight end. Okay, Stuttgart, they're taking care of the defensive backfield. A couple of years ago, they fixed their offensive line, defensive line. Their quarterback's good. They're built to win an ELF championship. After going over, that's been horrible. They turned it around. How? Offensive line, defensive backfield, quarterback. That's how you win. That's how you win. That's also how you lose. Okay, the Munich Ravens, they turned it around last year from being a bad expansion team to being a playoff team. They were the last playoff team to get in. They have re-signed defensive back Nico Leiterer He had 15 tackles, 1 TFL, 1 interception last year. Once again, they're taking care of defensive backfield. That's what winning teams do. Winning football teams take care of defensive backfield. Okay. Nordic Storm, they signed Elf champion linebacker. He played for Ryan Fire, so it does not surprise he's going from Ryan to Nordic Storm. Everyone's doing that from Ryan Fire. All their best players. Ryan's going to dip. I think they have a good management team. They'll get some players back. Emmanuel Falola. Okay, he's a British linebacker, very similar to Glenn Tunga. Hopefully they can stay off the cocaine in Denmark. Okay. Okay. Then the last thing for today's super long videos, I went on some rants today, but I felt that was important. Okay, is the Helvetic Mercenaries have been a really bad team in the ELF. How do you become a good team? O-line, D-line, defensive back, quarterback. Well, they added quarterback Isaiah Weed, who played for the Cologne Centurions. He's a dual threat quarterback, which goes a long way in the ELF. Okay, so they got the quarterback. Ding, that's good. That's one part. They got NFL wide receiver Keenan Cole. They signed him. He had played for 6 years in the NFL, Jacksonville, New York Jets, Las Vegas Raiders. He has a weapon for Isaiah Weed. That's helping Isaiah Weed. Boop. That's one piece of the puzzle, okay? They've been a bad team. Next, they got wide receiver. We're going to get a bunch of wide receivers. That's all Isaiah Weed investments. Boop. They brought in Finnish offensive lineman Alexi Nerhi, okay? One of the better Finnish offensive linemen in the league. He's a European. That's a low investment for them. They're working on the offensive line. Boop, boop. Okay, that's 2 things. So they got the quarterback taken care of. They're working on the offensive line. New defensive line, DeMarco Artis, okay? He played at Baylor. He played at West Florida, Division II West Florida, pretty good Division II team in the United States. They picked him up. Defensive line, they're working on the defensive line. Boop. They picked up safety, Jacquez Crawford, okay? He's a good tackler. He tackles in space. He's a good safety. Defensive back. Boop. They're making all the right moves. Quarterback, O-line, defensive backs. Why are they making all the right moves? Because they have a new head coach. And the head coach in the ELF has a lot of say in your personnel. Okay? So the new head coach for Helvetic is the Marcus Hereford. He had established himself as a championship coach in the German Football League, and he had been an assistant with the Berlin Thunder in the ELF, so he knows what he's doing. He knows how to win football games in the German Football League. He's translating that over. It's no surprise that he's taking care of his offensive line, boop, taking care of his quarterback, boop, defensive line, boop, defensive back, boop. You do those 4 things, you win a bunch of games. Helvetic Mercenaries could be a breakout team. All right, Timmy, that was a long episode. Are you tired? Probably a little bit. My mouth is dry. Cool, man. Well, good job today. We'll watch some NAL and IFL games. How about that? Yeah, let's watch that. Let's watch some games and relax and enjoy ourselves. Timmy, any thoughts about today? Take care of your O-line, your quarterback, your defensive line, your DBs if you want to win games. If you want to be a championship team, that's how you do it. Listen to this guy. He knows what he's talking about. Listen to it. If you want to win, do what Football Scientific tells you to do. You'll win a championship. Just like we do in fantasy football. Just like we do in high school football. We win. Listen to it. Listen to it. All right, Timmy, that was a very dramatic ending to the show. Hope you enjoyed the rest of your Saturday night. Check out the NAL and IFL. 2 NAL games tonight. They've already started, I'm sure. IFL is starting soon, if not already started. Should be good times. We'll talk about those games tomorrow. And then also whatever else happens to happen along the way, okay? So we'll probably talk about my NAL predictions and how that turned out, because all the NAL games will be done as of tomorrow. Maybe the UFL too, because they're going to be done tomorrow too. Birmingham plays tomorrow in the early game at noon on ESPN against DC Defenders. And then Memphis Showboats are hosting the Michigan Panthers at 3 o'clock on ESPN. Check it out. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel and like the video. And if you like these kinds of stories and stuff, check out the CFL News Hub. Okay, check out the UFL News Hub for CFL and UFL News. There's also some AF1 I saw on there. Disgusting. But I didn't write it. And then check out my Substack. I got these articles on there too, all together. So that's the deal. Thanks for joining Football Scientific. Have a wonderful night. Woo, 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 woo. Good night. Ha ha.